Hi beautiful, welcome to my channel. In today's video we have a new Nomad Cosmetics palette to try out. This is the Nomad Royal Europe palette that is coming out very soon. This palette obviously inspired by royalty in Europe and the royal jewels more specifically. I'm excited to swatch all of the shades for you. I'm excited to see how they perform. I'm excited to do 2 to 3 looks with this palette for you. It's actually going to be 3, and so I can't wait to get into it. So let's just go ahead and get started. Nomad always sends a little card that accompanies their palette to talk about the story of it, and this time around they sent over a royal invitation. So take a look right here at what the card looks like. I thought it was fantastic. So the inspiration for this palette says, from Versailles to Buckingham, the collection of royal places and castles span across Europe, each full of family jewels, partial rooms, and heirlooms of bygone eras. Uniquely different in their expansive estates, imposing architecture, and precious treasures, they all are impressive destinations that create a sense of awe and inspiration. Anyways, let me show you the outside of the palette, which I really love because it is cutouts of royal jewels and it looks beautiful. Here is what the outside of the palette looks like, and it's really nice and textured because, like I said, it's like different layers of cutouts all throughout the palette, and it just says Nomad Royal Europe. And once you open it, here is what it looks like. It does have jewel shades in there, which I'm very excited about because I love those when they're nice and shiny for the center of the eyelid. So once we open the palette, take a look right here at what it looks like. I absolutely love the color story of this one. I love that you can kind of very intuitively create like 5 different looks immediately just looking at it. I figured the first row is like our transition shades for each look, second row to deepen up the outer corner for each look, third row the shade in the center of the eyelid for each look. So for example, transition, deepening up the outer corner, center of the eyelid, transition, deepening up the outer corner, center of the eyelid, transition, deepening up the outer corner, center of the eyelid. You get the gist. In this one, this would be the transition and that would be the one to deepen up the outer corner, but you can kind of create a look with each color story. And I just paid attention to something. I was looking at the Royal Treasure shade right here, and from where I'm looking at it on the side here, it looks green, but to you it looks a deep pink shade. So this has a crazy duochrome shift in it. Anyways, let's stop blabbing and let's get to swatching because I'm very excited to see how all of these shades perform, and I'm very excited to create some looks with it. Because of the unique layout of this palette and what I was telling you about the different color stories, instead of swatching it across the way I usually do, I want to swatch it like this. So the first trio, the second trio, and so on and so forth. I'm already thinking I'll butcher some of these shades, so I apologize in advance. Shade number 1 is called Schönbrunn Palace. Oh, this is so creamy, wow, and so pigmented too. Then we have Neptune Fountain, super pigmented as well, also very creamy. And our first shimmer, Imperial Crown, which is a duochrome gold and green. Take a look right there. The second color story is really nice and teal, so let's go for it. The first shade is Willow Palace. King's Room is shade number 2, really nice and creamy. And our shimmer shade is Royal Orb, which is a deeper green shade with a gold shift as well. These are super creamy. I feel like my mind's a little bit blown. I wasn't expecting it to swatch this amazing. Let's go for row number 3, which looks impressive. First shade is Palace of Versailles. This looks super pretty. Then we have Hall of Mirrors, and the third shade is Bleu de France, which is a purple and blue duochrome shade. Now that the camera decided to focus, take a look right there. Super stunning. I'm trying to see if I can show you the purple shift, but the camera's not picking it up. Before I forget to mention it, I do have an affiliate code with Nomad Cosmetics, so if you are interested in this palette, you can save 10% off by using my code PATTY10 on their website. It applies to absolutely everything, not only this palette. So whenever you shop Nomad Cosmetics, if you want to save 10%, use code PATTY10. On to the next row, we have shades Buckingham Palace, which is this beautiful purple. Then the Ballroom, which is lighter and a bit less cool toned. And the shimmer for this one is this beautiful intense purple shade called St. Edward's Crown. So stunning. Let's go for the last row. The first shade is called Penna Palace. Then we have Great Hall, which is a bit deeper of a shade, and Royal Treasure, which is a multi-chrome shade. So this one has gold, it's got green, it's got like pink in it. And so take a look right here at how amazing and how vibrant all of the shades from this palette look. I'm honestly very impressed so far, and I can't wait to create a few looks with this one. I don't even know where to start. It looks like the shades are going to be very long lasting and a little hard to take off because these are the fingers that I was using for the matte shades, and as you can see, there's some pigment that's not coming out easily. Let's do what we came to do and let's create the first look with this palette. I think I'm going to go for the Palace of Versailles first, and these are very powdery, so be careful, and you definitely don't need to dip your brush too much into those powders because these seem so pigmented that I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to get a really nice amount of color without pressing your brush in there too hard. Anyways, the shade I got was Palette of Versailles, and I'm using a REPHR number 27 brush to blend it into the crease of my eye. I had gotten a bit too much color at first, so I wiped some off on a paper towel, and I am now building up that shade on my crease. Okay, so I have that nice blue base going, and I'm switching to a smaller blending brush, and I'm going to grab the deeper blue shade, which is called Hall of Mirrors, right over here. And I'm going to tap that color on the outer corner of the eye, just tapping it in place first, and then I'm going to start bringing it in. And so far I don't think I've gotten any fallout down here, but I have been taking minimal amounts of these shades to put on my crease because I don't want any fallout. For my eyelid with the REPHR number 28, I'm going for Bleu de France, which is a blue shimmer shade with a purple shift to it, and I'm adding it from the center of my eyelid out into the outer corner. Now, just to switch it up a bit and to give this look a bit of dimension because it's very blue, I'm going to get the shade Imperial Crown right here, also with the REPHR number 28 brush, and I'm going to put it on the inner third of my eyelid. Unfortunately, this palette doesn't have a shade that is light enough to put in the inner corner of the eye, so I'm going to use a highlighter there instead. This is the top of the eye so far, very colorful, very vibrant, and no fallout, which I'm very impressed by. So for my under eyes, I'm just going to use the same two shades I used on top, starting with Hall of Mirrors, and with a REPHR number 3 brush, I'm smudging this one right in between my lower lash line, halfway in. And then with the REPHR number 13 and the color Palace of Versailles, I'm going to smoke that out all the way to my tear duct area here. As I said, for the inner corner, Alamar Cosmetics highlighter in the shade Lagosta right here to brighten things up more. Ooh, so pretty. This highlighter is beautiful and I love it to put on the eyes as well. I'm going to use an Urban Decay eyeliner in the waterline. This is in the shade Deep End, and it's going to be perfect for this look because it is the exact same color. So this right here is the first eye look with this Royal Jewels palette. Let me go ahead and put on some mascara and some lashes, and I'll be right back to show you the final results. Back with mascara and lashes on, and this right here is my final first look with this palette. Nice and aqua blue, we'll say, with a bit of a fun thing in the center. I wanted to stick to the color story that I was going with, but it was a bit too plain for me. I wanted to give it some contrast, and so I did really like how it turned out, adding that gold shade on the inner half. And so this is the final look. I'm going to put a lipstick on, and I'm going to go for the shade that I go whenever I don't know what is going to match, which is my iconic nude lip liner from Charlotte Tilbury, because this will literally match anything. At least on my skin tone, it matches anything and everything. And I'm just filling it in. And so for a gloss, I'm going to go with my Natasha Denona Natasha gloss, which goes so well with this lip liner. So check it out. This right here is the final first look. Let's move on to look number 2. Before we start with the second look, I have an update for you. When I washed my face last night and I melted my makeup off, I was scared that some of the eyeshadows would have stained my eyelid, because it definitely stained my finger. But I didn't use any oil to take it off of my finger. Obviously, I was just using a makeup wipe. And when I dissolved my makeup with this product, I forgot what it's called, but this is what I used last night to take my makeup off, my eyelids were not stained at all. So I just wanted to make sure you knew that. No staining, at least from the colors that I used yesterday. I also forgot to mention the price of the palette and when it's being released. It's being released on March the 28th at 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember, you can use code PATTY10 to save 10% if you're interested. And all of these shades down here are multi-chrome shades, and they are going to sell them individually. If you don't want the palette and you just want the fun shimmers, you can get the shades individually for $12 each, and it launches at the same time. So for my next look, I think I want to play with this part of the palette here. So I'm going to start with the color The Ballroom on a big fluffy REPHR number 27 brush, and I'm going to just blend that color on the crease of my eye right here. I didn't put any eyeshadow primer on or anything, but I did have a bit of concealer right underneath my brow, but not on my eyelid. Anyways, I'm just blending that shade out. And as you can see, this is very pigmented, and also it blends very easily. If you wanted to create softer looks than these, I would recommend going in with a lighter transition shade first and then deepening up things with this shade instead of using this one as a transition shade. But I'm just going with this palette as much as I can. So I'm going to, with a smaller fluffy brush, use the shade Buckingham Palace, which is this super amazing deep purple. And I'm going to stamp this color on the outer corner of my eyelid. And wow, pigmentation, right? So after stamping it in place, I'm going to start blending it into the first color we applied. This look is definitely going to be really nice and intense. And I think I'm going to have a little bit of trouble with this shade in particular, because look at how it looked patchy right there in the middle. It might totally be my fault though, because I have concealer up here, but I don't have any concealer down here on my eyelid. So that totally could be what is causing the patchiness, but I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to blend that shade in first, and then I'll worry about making it more even back there. So with a bit more of that same shade, I'm just going to tap things over in hopes to make it look better. With a makeup wipe, I'm going to clean my outer edge a bit. And I'm also going to clean the inner half of my lid, and I'm defining the crease a bit right there. I'm going to use a bit of my Natasha Denona eyeshadow primer right on the area where I cleaned, and I'm going to tap it in with my finger a bit in order to blend it with the dark purple. I want to go into the shade Royal Treasure here with a REPHR number 28, and I'm going to add it to the inner third of my eyelid, but I don't think I'm going to take it all the way to the inner corner because it's not a light shade, it's pretty dark. So I'm patting it right here where you see, and then I'm going to grab St. Edward's Crown, which is right next to it, and this is a really nice and intense purple shade, and I'm going to add this one between the mattes and the multi-chrome that I applied. I feel like this is an evil villain's makeup look. I could be Ursula right now from The Little Mermaid. I feel like she would wear this purple eye look. For lack of other lighter shades to put on the inner part of the eye right there, I'm going to grab the lightest that the palette offers, which is Imperial Crown. I know I already used this one on the first look, but it is the lightest multi-chrome that the palette has. So we're gonna use it again all the way to the inner corner. Okay, that is actually really pretty. Very intense, but very pretty. I'm not mad. So for the under eye area, I'm going to start with Buckingham Palace, and on a REPHR number 3, I'm going to back and forth, just swipe it right under my lower lash line, connect it right here at the end, and then with the REPHR number 13 and a little bit of the ballroom, I'm going to diffuse this outer part of the eye, and I'm bringing it all the way to the tear duct area. I had a little tiny bit of fallout right there, and I'm just going to take it off with a makeup wipe. And using my Tom Ford concealer and a brush, I'm going to fix this area just in case anything looks iffy down here. And so before any mascara or lashes are applied, this right here is my finished second look. Very intense, very purple. This palette is definitely not for the faint of heart. In fact, I feel like Nomad Cosmetics in general is for the colorful makeup lover, because they definitely always bring the drama when it comes to their eyeshadow palettes and their color stories. So let's move on to the third look. Before I do any mascara or lashes or anything like that. For the third look, I want to play with the more natural shades of this palette. So I'm going to start with Chambron Palace. I know I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. But anyways, that is going to be my crease shade because that is the lightest one of those two. And once again, I'm blending it out with my REPHR number 27 brush. Usually I go for my REPHR number 15 for this, but I can't find it. So I'm using the number 27, which is just a bit longer, maybe a bit less dense. That blended out beautiful, and I'm going to use the shade Neptune Fountain next. Once again, I'm going to start by tapping it in place, and then I'll blend it into my crease color. Just blending back and forth with my smaller fluffy brush. And once again, with my makeup wipe, I'm going to kind of draw a line back here so that we can have a nice and defined outer corner. So I'm patting and blending until things look nice and even. In the center of my eyelid, I'm going to use Royal Orb because this is the only multi-chrome I have not used yet. And it's green, so this is going to go perfect with the browns. So I'm patting it right here in the center of the eyelid and towards the outer half. And you know what? I think I'm going to make this a halo eye. So instead of going with a light shimmer on the inner corner, I'm going to go with more of Neptune Fountain on a small fluffy blending brush. This one is my number 14. And I'm going to add that dark shade to the inner third of my eyelid and just blend it into our shimmer green ever so slightly. I do need to bring in a lighter highlight color for this one, so I'm going to use La Costa highlighter from Alamar Cosmetics on the inner corner of the eye. I think I went a little too far in, so I'm going to fix that real quick. All right, let me fix the mattes. Now I'm adding the shimmer. Now that I fixed it, I like it. Let's move on to the under eye area. I'm going to start with a bit of Royal Orb right underneath the center of my eye, right here. And then with my REPHR number 3, a little bit of the dark matte brown on the outer corner and underneath my tear duct area. Clean REPHR number 14, and I'm just going to dab a bit on the lighter matte shade and blend it all out. I'm going to use a mustardy looking eyeliner on the waterline of my eye here. I feel like this is going to make things look a little funkier in a good way, hopefully. Yeah, I kind of like it. This is my eyeliner from Glossier in the shade Ochre. And if you hate it, you could just do a green. And on this side, I'm going to go for a lighter, like lavender shade. This is from Odin's Eye in 008. I like that. I actually really like the way both of these came out, and surprisingly I like this look more than the purple. You guys know I love purple, but that might be like a bit too much purple for me, so I think I like this one better. It's a bit more wearable. Anyways, I love both of these. Let me put on some mascara and lashes, and I'll be back to show you the final looks 2 and 3. I'm back with my finished looks after adding some mascara and lashes, and I am absolutely loving the way both of these looks. Now I gotta say, this palette is definitely not for the faint of heart. Let me give you my final thoughts on this one. I think Nomad's palettes used to be 40 something dollars. This one is 57, so they raised their price for this one, but I gotta say the formula in this palette is much better than a lot of the other palettes I have tried, especially the shimmer shades. The shimmer shades are a huge improvement. The mattes are a bit more blendable and they are definitely very, very pigmented in comparison to other mattes I've tried from them, but the shimmers are so much better. I know that shimmers is definitely what makes the manufacturing price of a palette expensive, and so this palette having not 1 or 2 but 5 different multi-chrome shades in there is, I'm sure, what adds to the cost of this palette. But I gotta say, the pigmentation and the performance of the shades, in my opinion, are definitely worth the price difference between this one and some of the other palettes I've tried from them before. Besides that, this palette is definitely not for the faint of heart. You have to like drama in your eyeshadow looks to love this palette. You have to like color in your eyeshadow looks to love this palette. Nomad usually takes me out of my comfort zone, and it did so with this palette as well. My favorite thing about the palette are definitely the multi-chrome shimmers down here, but I can definitely also appreciate the mattes that the palette has. I feel like in order to make this palette a bit more me, I would, instead of using it on its own, I would go in with a lighter transition shade and then start deepening up with the shades that the palette has in it. And I would definitely still use the multi-chrome shades, but also I would always make sure to have a nice inner corner shade to add to this palette to always get looks that I love and that I'm comfortable with. Overall, I do like the palette, definitely recommend it, and I think that they did a fantastic job with their formula in this one. I got a little scared when I had a bit of patchiness happening with this shade, but you can't even see it. After I went over it one more time, it went away. So the formula has definitely been improved and I am totally here for it. Plus, I'm obsessed with how pigmented and shimmery and incredible these shades are. Like, these are truly colorful, very pigmented shimmer shades that have the most amazing shift to them. I definitely love these shimmers. Anyways, let me know your thoughts on this palette and on the looks I created down in the comment section. I'm dying to hear what you guys have to say about it. If you are interested in this palette, remember that it comes out at midnight on the 28th and that you can use code PATTY10 to get 10% off of it. I really like it and I'm definitely very excited about the new multi-chrome formula that they came out with. Alrighty, if you like this video, don't forget to please give it a thumbs up before you leave. Also, don't forget to please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching and I hope to see you back in the next one. Bye.